It's a great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on HabsCast.
Welcome back to HabsCast. We're getting ready for a big match tonight. Vegas back in town. Should be a dandy. There will be a burr in their saddle after getting beat 7-1 by Ottawa in our nation's capital the other night. I would suspect that they'll come out a lot stronger than they did against Ottawa, and Montreal is going to have to be prepared for a good push at the start of the game if they can not succumb to the pressure that I'm sure that they'll be under. Hopefully they don't give up that first goal. Hey, Monty's not in nets, so the odds of that are a little better. Dobie's not nearly as prone to giving up a goal on the first shot. The one thing, if you're making a bet tonight, the one thing that might be just a little betting tip here, if you can win something on predicting that it goes to overtime, you might want to lay a bet on that, because for whatever reasons, Vegas, I think they've had 19 games go to overtime so far this year. Well over a third, anyways, of their games have gone to overtime. So, anyways, it's a pretty good bet that it'll be tight, and that don't be surprised if we see 3-on-3 hockey at the end of the night. But a good match. Right now, the Canadiens, I don't know if it's been announced whether Laine's playing tonight. I hope so. I think that there's a need to have somebody on the top line. There's one clear hole on the Canadiens forward group, and it's the top line winger. And nobody else has the resume that Laine has. You keep that second line together, the young guys. They've, for the most part, recently they haven't been as good, but I think they bounce back with a strong one. Laine's not playing tonight. That's fine. They're not rushing it, but he will be playing before the Olympic break. I suspect it'll be the next game. If not, then on the weekend. And I think he'll probably play on the top line. But anyways, I'm going to go into explanation as to why I believe that that's the best spot to try him out. I've been in a little bit of a discussion with VDAC, I call him, or Da Vinci, who's quite adamant that he shouldn't be activated because it would mean perhaps losing Sammy Blais. Now, this is nothing against Sammy Blais. I think he's an effective player, a good guy to have as your 13th, 14th guy if your depth forward only goes 13 or 14. But the Canadiens right now, with the acquisition of Danault, the trade, the picking up of Texier, right? They've got, when healthy, 16 forwards on the roster. Obviously, they can only go with 13 or 14. That makes Blais right now is the 16th man. Now, you can argue that he should be a little higher. Maybe you could say 13, 14 when everybody's healthy. I'm not going to, get into a huge argument on that, but it's still outside of the top 12 with a healthy lineup. So if it comes down to a choice between activating Patrik Laine, who I think should get a shot on the top line, or keeping Sammy Blais and not perhaps losing him on waivers, I go with sending Sammy Blais to the minors, or Joe Veleno, either one. But ultimately, it's going to come down to both of them, I think, having to, be on waivers. I don't know that Sammy Blais gets picked up. So there's a decent chance that he would not get claimed and he would go to Laval. If he does, well, then you lose him. Yep. They already put him on waivers early in the year, so it's not like, they would lose a lot of sleep over the fact that Sammy Blais may not be in the lineup. Da Vinci, as I call him, he makes the argument, and he sent a long message on my YouTube video that I did last night, saying, Blais hits hard. He hits, and yeah, the Sammy Blais hits quite a bit. If you look at all of the top hitters in the league, like none of the top hitters, with the exception of Tom Wilson, gets a lot of points. Now, there's a reason why they hit more frequently than others, because they don't usually have the puck. Like, if you've got the puck, you're not hitting. If you don't have the puck, then you're trying to hit, right? Especially if the other team has it. Like, the top team in the league is Colorado by far. And when you look, I did a good look here at, just comparing Montreal. There is this misconception that the Canadiens don't hit, that they're soft. Well, they've got 3 players in the top 54 in hits. Now, if you multiply 3 by 32, they should only have 3 in the top 96. Well, no, they've got 3 in the top 54. So they've got 3 of the top 18 hitters per team that the Canadiens have. So compared to Colorado, who is by far the best team in the league this year, Colorado has 1 player in the top 58 in hits and 3 in the top 205. Habs, 3 in the top 54. Colorado, 3 in the top 205. Now, you might ask why. Well, one of the reasons why is Colorado has the puck a lot, right? They're a very skilled team. Well, you know who else is very skilled is Montreal. They are, I think, in terms of talent, especially with another former top 2 pick, Patrik Laine, in the lineup, they're right up there with any team after Colorado, in my opinion, skill-wise. They've got, former first overall pick in Slav, former second overall pick in Laine, who is in his prime still. He's not like he's 35. None of these guys are past their prime. Former third overall pick in Doc, 5th overall pick in Demidov, who some would argue should have been top 3. You can make the argument maybe Seneca. So there's all sort, and then you throw in Suzuki, Caufield, both top 16 picks. It just, you go up and down the lineup. There's the pedigree, the talent, the potential is very high with Montreal. So the Habs have 6 players in the top 117 in hits. Again, if you multiply 6 by 32, should only be 6 in the top 192. Well, they've got 6 in the top 117. Among the top 37 hits in the NHL, only 1 has more than 30 points, right? Tom Wilson is the only player in the top 96 in hits who is a point-per-game player. So it's not like the NHL is rife with players who hit and produce. It's typically guys that don't have the puck a lot, right? That are bottom line players that when they go out there, since they don't have the puck and their line doesn't have the puck, they hit. Now, like Michael Pezzetta last year, I think he led the NHL in hits per 60. It was, I don't know if it was even very close. When he did play, well, he went out and he hit. Now, what was the main reason for that? Because he never had the puck. You know, when you don't have the puck, you're going to hit, or you should try to hit. And when you never have it, well, you're going to have more hits. Michael Pezzetta's not even in the league now. So, like, Sammy Blais last year was an AHLer, right? He's been through waivers this year. Do you really prefer to have him on your roster to a guy that's averaged 35 goals a year for his career? Over, it doesn't make sense. One can help you score, the other can maybe hit a little more often. On a team that I think it's underrated how often they hit. Like Da Vinci was saying, well, can hit and hitting are different stories. Yes, but the Habs, these guys can not only can hit, they do hit. Montreal is above average in hits in the league. So that argument kind of goes out the window that they need Sammy Blais in there because they might have a couple extra hits a game. Hits don't go on the scoreboard, right? And, I've heard the argument, well, they don't need to score more goals. Well, let's have a look at the top goal-scoring teams in the league, all right? 3 of the top 4, Colorado, Carolina, Tampa, just happen to be the top 3 teams in the league in points. So tell me that scoring more goals wouldn't be a good thing for the Canadiens. If they had 13 more goals, that they would sit second to Colorado in goals for. 13 more goals. Can you not think that if they'd had 13 more goals, and they would with Laine in the lineup over the past 52 games, 13 more goals, 3 more wins, let's safely say, you know what they'd be? Or even 4 wins. If they had 4 wins with 13 more goals, they would be second to Colorado in the standings and top of the East. So, 2 more hits a game make the difference? I don't think so, because they already are one of the more prolific hitting teams in the league, surprisingly. But 13 more goals, yeah, it would make a difference, especially for a team that with Montreal's save percentage, they need as many goals as they can get, right? Let's look. It's not like Laine never hits either. He has averaged 69 hits over 82 games a season, 69 hits a year. Based on his hitting frequency for his career, he would have 44 hits this season if he had been healthy and playing after 52 games. The exact same total as Crosby and McKinnon. On top of that, he's a big boy, and when he does hit, quite a few of his hits are impactful. He's a big boy. When he does hit, it's not like getting hit by Gallagher, right? His average goals against average. Now, this is the part, again, there's this common fallacy that Laine is just horrible defensively. I wouldn't call him above average defensively. No one would do that. But this perception that he just hurts the team immeasurably when he's on the ice, when it comes to defense, it's overblown. Last year with the club, playing with a centerman in Kirby Dach, who may have been the poorest defensive center, Dach played 20 games without Laine, and he was minus 20. He was minus 25 or something like that. Is actually his plus minus improved when Laine came on the line. So they put Dach with him and Newhook, and Newhook and Dach were maybe the worst defensive plus minus in the league when they did that. Despite that, Laine was on the ice for 3.1 goals against per game. Montreal's average, so his goals against average was 310, right? Montreal's goals against average last year was 3. So minus zero point 0.1 goals with Laine on the ice as compared to the team, which is basically even, right? He didn't really hurt the team, and he was saddled with a Kirby Doc who was clearly struggling defensively last year. He was out of shape. Despite that, basically was even with the rest of the team. So he wasn't hurting the team defensively last year. He really wasn't. Now, let's just well, he had 1 year in Columbus where he was very poor defensively, and that has stuck with him for the rest of his career, right? And we see it. We see narratives that get made up based on one bad season by a goalie or a forward or whatever. That becomes the standard. Like, oh, well, he's terrible defensively, or he's he's peaked and he's like Steven Stamkos, for instance, 30 games into the year. Well, he's done, right? He's done. Well, no, he's not. He turned it around and he's been a top goal scorer in the league the last 20 games. But Laine, his first year under Tortorella, yes, he wasn't great defensively. We do have to keep in mind that Columbus was horrible at that time. And the next 2 seasons in Columbus, I'm going to show you his plus minus in comparison to the other guys at the top, okay? Bjorkstrand was minus 35. Voracek minus 13. Nyquist minus 12. Zaretsky minus 15. Laine, who, he was a point per game. The only player on the team who was a point per game, or even close to it, was minus 7 amongst the top scorers on that team. They weren't a good team, but Laine actually had the best plus minus of any of the top scorers. Okay, you say, well, that's just like the year before. Well, that's just one season, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, let's look at the next year. Johnny Gaudreau, rest in peace, Johnny, was minus 33. Laine, again, in points per game, basically tied with Gaudreau. So right at the top of the team, minus 12. Boone Jenner, minus 32. Now, Patty played a fair bit with those guys. He had a lot better plus minus. Roslovich, minus 14. Kent Johnson, minus 19. Marchenko, minus 23. Eric Robson, minus 21. Laine, best plus minus of any of the top scorers on that team. And quite a bit better than Gaudreau and Jenner. So, he still lives. There's still this narrative from that one season where he was minus 29, again, on a really bad Columbus team. And yeah, he wasn't, when he first came over to Columbus, he wasn't doing it defensively. But you know what? Tortorella got through to him. And the second year, as the stats showed, he was a lot better defensively. In fact, better than teammates. So I think that there's an unfair knock on just how poor Patrik Laine is defensively, because it's not really, the stats don't back it up. They really don't. So, you've got the potential of adding a career 35 goal scorer. The Canadiens don't have any of those in the lineup. He averages 35 points a season, or 35 goals a season. They don't have one of those. David Pastrnak, let's compare, who is one of the top goal scorers of the past 5 years. Okay, so Laine, like I said, last year, playing with maybe the worst top 2 defensive center in in the league in Doc. Well, if he plays with Suzuki, there's a lot better defensively than Doc was last year, right? Well, Pasternak this year, he's on pace for an identical 33 goals to what Laine has averaged 33 goals the last 3 years. Okay. And again, the perception is, well, he's really regressed when it comes to goal scoring. Incorrect. He's averaged 33 goals a year the last 3 years, over 82 games. Okay. Pasternak is on pace for identical 33 goals. His goals against average this year, 3.1. Laine last year, his goals against average, 3.1. Hitting wise, okay, Laine on pace last year for 69 over a season. Pasternak on pace for 73 hits, 4 more. So basically the same when it comes to hits, right? So do you see the Bruins saying, well, we've got a Sammy Blais guy, our 13th, 14th forward here. He hits more than David Pasternak. He might be a little better defensively than David Pasternak. He should be in the lineup and David Pasternak shouldn't. Would there be a Bruin fan on the planet that makes that argument? No. So, that's not even getting into the fact that they need to showcase Laine. If in fact they don't re-sign him, that's fine, okay? But you've got an $8.5 million salary, and you can't have that sitting in the stands when healthy. You just can't, because there's trade value there. There's no trade value for Sammy Blais. None. That's why he was on waivers earlier in the year. He was a minor leaguer last year. Minor leaguer this year too, to a certain extent. So there's no trade value for Sammy Blais. And you can say, well, he hits hard. That's fine. I don't mind Sammy Blais, but we're not the coach. And clearly Marty St. Louis does not think Sammy Blais is one of the top 12 forwards on the Montreal Canadiens when relatively healthy. So it's not up to us. You can Da Vinci can like Sammy Blais, but at the end of the day, Sammy Blais is not in the lineup. So if you lose him and Da Vinci doesn't want to, and okay, that's fine. But it's immaterial. It really is, because he's not playing. And that's without Laine, that's without Newhook. So, it just, Patrik Laine, if he comes in and does anything like he did last year when he first came in, when he had 11 power play goals in his first 10 games, there's going to be interest in him at the trade deadline. If the Canadiens don't want him at the trade deadline, if he scores a few goals even, there's going to be interest, because he's an expiring contract. It's not so at the end of the year, they got to pay him about $1 million. There'll be teams interested. They'll, without a doubt. But if he sits in the stands, doesn't get activated, and teams don't know, well, I don't know if he's going to be able, is he okay? Is he going to help us? We don't know. There's an unknown here. So no, we're not going to trade for him. We're not going to give you anything. Well, how does that help the Canadiens? It doesn't. So, and then how does it help the power play? Like, Sammy Blais not going to come in the lineup and help the power play. He's never going to see the lineup on the power play. So Laine, Alex Texier is not the answer on the top line. Kirby Dach, Didn't do a lot offensively with his 2-game audition. To me, it's one or the other. It's Doc or Laine, and right now they want Doc in the bottom 6, and he brings some size and physicality to a bottom 6, which is needed. So you try Laine. You try Laine in that spot. The guy that did this today in practice, by the way, and thank you to Patrik Laine for posting this on online. Check out that move there, and then whoop, right back again. Yeah, I know that's only practice, blah blah blah, BDD, but pretty smooth, pretty smooth moves by Patty, who for a 6'5" guy does have good hands, and I mean, let's face it, folks, one of the best shots in the league. You're right. He has an absolute cannon. So it's you know those are my arguments for why. First of all, you activate Patrik Laine. Second of all, try him on the top line. Somebody mentioned on the power play, right? That it curtailed Cole some, and I agree with that. That he wasn't over on the left side on the power play as much, and that's his bread and butter too. So both of them weren't scoring at the rate, like Caufield wasn't scoring goals at the rate that he did on the power play before Laine showed up. But Cole never scored at the rate that Laine did when he came to the Habs. Laine per 82 games was the top power play goal scorer in the league last year, and Cole's never been close to it. So he's a step up, but we're talking about 5-on-5 here, and it's a different story, right? Laine's not going to be over on in Cole's spot over there, but also Laine is a 30 assist man for his career, which is the second best on the Montreal Canadiens, or third, I guess, if you want to include Demidov. Even though this is his first year, so not, I mean, small sample size, but third in assists, third best on the entire team. Okay, just ahead of Caufield. So it's not like Laine can't set up Caufield 5-on-5. He can, and then Nick, who is the best playmaker, is on that line too. He can set up the best playmaker with the 2 best goal scorers. There is a certain amount of logic in that, right? Put your best playmaker with your 2 best goal scorers. Again, if Laine comes in and he dogs it, won't back check, won't hit, is hurting the team defensively, not scoring goals, and yeah, okay. Thank you very much. See you later. Blah blah blah. It didn't work, right? But when your alternative's Alex Texier, I say you try it. You give it a go. You see if Laine can score some goals on the top line. I think he will. I think he can. I think he will. But you don't know unless you try it. So anyway, there's my spiel on why I think Patty Laine needs to have a look at him. And I think, hey, he's never been on the top line in Montreal. As I say, they put him with a Doc that was out of shape and not playing close to his potential last year. Newhook, who was still trying to get an identity and wasn't, he's not a playmaker. He's not, and yeah, he wasn't great 5-on-5 last year, but is it really a surprise given that who he was playing with? No. So put him with put him on the top line with best goal scorer, best playmaker. You know, this is a guy whose contract's up. This is a guy who's been hurt a lot over the past 2 years. This is a guy that's motivated, has something to prove. I can't see him being lackadaisical. I can't see him not trying. I think he'll I think he'll I think he'll surprise is what I think he'll do. And Patrik Laine at his best in his NHL career, the friggin' top five winger in the league. Like just dynamic, uh, really good when we've seen Patrik Laine at his best. Um, he like he can be a 40 goal scorer when he's at his best, and in the past he has been. Um, he scored goals in bunches that that nobody else in the league was was touching. So if he came on into the Habs and scored like he has in 12-game increments in the past when he was at his best, frig, he could fill the net. And especially, he's never played with as good a line mates regularly as Caufield and Suzuki. Like in Winnipeg, he was invariably with Paul Stastny as a center. Nick Ehlers a lot of the time on the wing, who's okay, a good player, but that they're not. You know, I wouldn't put them in the same breath as Suzuki and Caufield. And in Columbus, like I showed you those stats. Obviously, he didn't play all the time. The year that Goodrow was minus 33 and Patty was minus 12, he wasn't playing with Goodrow 5-on-5. He was playing with Jack Roslovich, and they had the best plus minus on the team. So he hasn't had as good a line mates as he would have with Suzuki and Caufield ever in his career. Yet he's still a 35 goal scorer for his career, and he's in his prime here still, right? It's not like he's 32 and on the, you can say age is a factor here. It's not. He's in his prime, and if it looks like, well, I mean, from all accounts, he's looked good in practice. I'm excited to see him again. With all due respect to Sammy Blais, I'm more excited about Patrik Laine being in the lineup here than a Sammy Blais getting back in, maybe throwing a couple of big hits on a team that already is above average in hits. It's not like the Canadiens absolutely need. Do they need more hits or do they need more goals? Well, I think they need more goals, especially with the way the goaltending's playing. All right. Laine to Laval. Yeah, well, I guess you were listening to me with earplugs in there, Eric. Thank you very much for that. Good afternoon, Grant. Hello, Ken. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Do I think the Habs will re-sign Doc after the season? Sure. Why not? Yeah. He's an RFA. It's not like he's going to ask for the moon. Absolutely. Typically, Tyler, 2 years, major knee surgery, 2 years before you're back at your best. And next year, hey, he had a good offseason last year. I think he'll do the same thing this year. Next year at camp, I expect Doc to be, he'll be 25, right in his prime, fully fit, fully recovered from the knee injury. I expect him to be quite good next year. They need him. If he can play up to his potential, they need that 6'4" physical forward with his size skill combo. Absolutely. Have the lineups been announced for tonight? I think it's the same. I think they have the same lineup, and with Dobish and Nets. So, Ant P, I agree that Laine should come back onto the top line. Well, good. It's nice to get some agreement. I think he would be a help, even if it's to give the team a boost like last year. Fair enough. Let Laine loose on the first line or showcase him for a trade. Well, hey, I think it's worthwhile to give him a look. You know, one of the only guys in the past 50 years who was besides obviously superstar Guy Lafleur and Steve Shutt, was this guy. You recognize that guy? 10-time Stanley Cup winner Yvan Cournoyer. What's he doing there holding a hockey stick? He's in Quéant, Quebec, West Quebec, at the Logs End plant, where he was mighty impressed by the Blacks and said, you know what, I'm going to get your flooring. What they do is they reclaim logs from the Ottawa River and cut them up into wide plank flooring that is so unique and beautiful. It is a must for anyone that's looking to get their floors redone and add tremendous value to your home. Logs End, here is their website, www.logsend.com. You don't even need to press www, just logsend.com. Put that in, hit that into your internet machine, and you'll see a beautiful website, Logs End. Get in touch with them if you're interested in perhaps getting a quote. Tell them that Grant from HabsCast sent you, and they'll look after you. All right. Blaze been on waivers twice this year already, 3 times the charm. Well, you know, 2 clubs already put him on waivers. It just, hey, again, no disrespect to Sammy Blais, but the Canadiens, if the Canadiens were last in the league in hits, you could make maybe a bit more of an argument that, okay, you know, he should be in the lineup and they need that. But again, you know, it's an uncommon perception that the Canadiens are soft, and really they're not. This time he doesn't get claimed. Probably not. I don't think. Typically, somebody that's been on waivers 3 times in a year doesn't get claimed the 3rd time around. The problem is not scoring. It's reliable, consistent goaltending. Right. But when you're not getting that, you need scoring. Right? Like, if you're not scoring and you don't have reliable goaltending, guess what? You're last in the league. I suspect Laine may not play before the Olympics. He's probably not injured anymore, which means he's not better than his replacement. Yeah. Okay. Just like everybody else in the lineup this year, Francois, they're being careful. Stu said last night on the podcast that he thinks that he's back in before the Olympic break. And Stu would have a little better idea than any of us, I think. Tip says, nice breakdown, Grant. I agree. Well, thank you. And your tip is a new person on here. Thank you. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for coming on board. Appreciate all newcomers. I'll try to get, whenever I see a new name on here, I'll try my best to get your comments in, unless it's grant you're nuts or something, then I might pass over on it. Why has Laine declined so fast? Averaged 33 goals per season his last 3 years. Renaissance resistor. Jeez, if only I wish all Habs regulars declined like that. Have you seen the decline? He hasn't played much. Yeah, well, again, it's it's narrative, right? You see it. Oh, that must be what it is. Well, no, it's not. Narratives aren't always right, folks. I'm heading up for the Avs game on Thursday. Last time I went, it was 7-3 loss. Avs wearing Nord's jersey should be a barn burner. I'll have a report on Friday. Right on. You want to write an article for my Patreon page yet? Get in touch. How can one argue for a bench warmer over a proven goal scorer? Strange. Well, Da Vinci gets his opinions, and hey, he it's not like it's a poor. He doesn't back it with his opinions with whatever his viewpoint, but yeah, I don't know. It's just not. It doesn't make a lot of sense for the club in general, in any sense, other than he might hit more. He would hit more than Patrik Laine, and the reason why Sammy Blais hits so much is because he never has the puck. Basically, very rare. Why would St. Louis trade Snuggerud? Well, they won't, because reason they traded Bolduc was because they liked Snuggerud better. So they're not going to turn around and trade the guy that was the reason for them getting rid of Snuggerud in the first place. St. Louis isn't going to be trading their good young players. When you retool, you trade veterans. You don't trade first-round picks from a couple of years before that are part of your future. It's not so much the IQ; it's his body can't keep up. He was the best power play goal scorer in the league last year. Right? Again, we get these narratives, and Joey Gauthier is like, we always get a few guys in here that just come on to be contrarians. Joey, you haven't posted much in here, but it's always it's always the opposite, and not very you're wrong. How are guys seeing that his body can't keep up? Who knows? Just there's always the negative contrarians. You can't. They're always out there. I think there's a distinct possibility Laine will be better this time. Well, when he came back from his injury last year, he clearly wasn't as good as he had been when he started with the Canadiens. Joey obviously is basing it on what he saw at the end of the year. And yes, he wasn't. There was an issue. There was something bothering him with a shot because he didn't have the same shot as before. There's no reason why he won't have that, why that won't be better. I think it had something to do with his abdominal injury. I think he probably had it last year at the end of the year. Well, it's better now, so. Oh, Joey watched the 5 games that he played at the start of this year. Well, if you're going to base it on 5 games, whatever. Playing with Evans, and who was not very good at the start of the year. You put a goal scorer with Jake Evans, or you put him with Nick Suzuki. Is he going to look better with? Is he going to get more points with Jake Evans, who just signed a contract and has not been good this year, or and Anderson or Caufield and Suzuki. I wonder who he'd score more points with. Blay will never play unless injury. Concern I have his willingness to be 13th, 14th forward. Blay Valeno started the season at 13th, 14th, so would accept waiting for injuries to play. Yeah, no, that's well said. I agree with that. Paul Cormier, love your perspective on the Habs players. Hey, double Toonie. Thank you very much, Paul. Cheers. Hope to see you tonight after the Vegas game. I think I'm going to have Snake on tomorrow. I got to text him, but I believe Snake tomorrow lunchtime. Hope you can tune in. I'll have on the Snake. Yeah, I don't think he's played a lot of fully healthy either. With Laine and Newhook back, two of Galley Bolduc, Texier need to sit every single game. Will that work? Also, no chance to give him time to Beck later this year. Yeah, well, what they're going to do, I think, is rotate, right? Laine may sit the odd time, right? Galley the odd game, Bolduc the odd game, Texier the odd game, Evans, I think, the odd game. You know, don't have anybody sitting out permanently of those guys. And as Tip T Pit says, you'll be motivated. Can you change that name, man? What am I supposed to say? TP? Grant, you are the best and the only expert who gives Patty a fair shake. Bless you. So tired of the Engels propaganda. Oh. Patty has never played with a legitimate top six center after Stastny in Winnipeg. Yeah, and even Stastny was not a major point producer ever, really, right? What was Stastny's high? And it was only because he played with friggin' Laine. Anyone else he played with, stats weren't by no means jaw dropping. Well, not in the Suzuki range. Stastny, Winnipeg, he had 13 points in 19 games. Then back with them, he had 29 points in 56 and 45 and 71. So, Laine played with. He did not play with Nick Suzuki. That's for sure. Texier is a flash in the pan, in my opinion. We'll see. I don't think he's Patrik Laine. Was Laine with Nick Cole in practice? Yes. He has been practicing with him. Who gets more out of their players, MSL or Patrick Leroy? I don't know. Another argument for Habs handling the 24th player after Olympic is all teams should be healthier and status known then. So less chance Blay gets picked up on waivers. And again, why? It's not something to worry about. He's already been on waivers twice this year. So if you lose Sammy Blay, I'm not going to have nightmares at night. Oh my God, Sammy Blay's gone. What are the Habs going to do? Their future's doomed. He's a nice guy to have as a multiple injuries. Okay. Like the Habs called him up. They brought him back and they sent him to the minors. He only got called up when they were up to like 6 injuries on forward. So, you know, he didn't look too promising at the start of the year. Well, again, he played 5 games with Evans and Anderson, who were struggling. That's not the right. You don't put him with Anderson and Evans. You just don't. Laine could replace many underperforming Habs. Yes, he could. Just to back my argument a little bit here, guys, I think I'm gonna play the video that there'll be a few of you that didn't see this, and I think it's something that I don't know, impressed me. Reminds you of just what Laine can bring.
Right back to the Montreal captain. Now it's Hudson.
And he just sets up, and they look for him. That's a...
Right up and off balance. The Islanders couldn't get it out. And there's an open net.
It's Tippett. Laine. Bang on it. Got it back. Hitting shot goes wide.
Suzuki à Laine. Voilà le tir!
Du Kraken, c'est très bien ce qui s'en vient, mais c'est un tir élite de cet endroit.
How often have we seen guys with a shot like that on the Habs before? Caufield and the Blitz. And even Caufield doesn't
Voilà Patrik Laine.
do that
Belle incursion
consistently.
vers Goulet. Come back to Hudson across. Another. It's just a little late getting there, and you see a bit of a deflection. This has been his spot. Talk about an impact that he's had off the end.
Well, here's Laine the other way. Patrik Laine cruising in, drops it off. New look in front, across, score! To Hudson. Hudson back to Suzuki.
And winds down. You don't get enough of an opportunity with the 5 on.
Hudson. Laine, there it is, scores.
Did it right in half.
That's 3 goals deflected.
Yeah.
Slavkovski à Suzuki maintenant. Et voilà, supérieur Pierre, regardez tout l'espace de réception. Tout le monde est attiré du même côté. Newfoundland n'est peu. Hudson vers Suzuki. Avec tout le temps voulu de Suzuki avec la passe. Il reste encore 38 secondes à la pénalité à Pop. Est-ce qu'il y a encore un doute sur son arme de près? Une fois de plus, cette fois-ci par contre.
By Hudson, Suzuki. Laine, shooter number 1. In on Dostal.
Broken stick on the ice. And they score.
He can't extend his stick and pressure Laine like Patrik Laine. If he gets this much time, I mean, look at that shot. Just
Laine steps and shoots and
He's moving around, but this is maybe that would.
You think there's going to be a one-timer right here, but it's not.
Does that look like a player on the decline? Like a player that can't help the Canadiens? I don't know. Well, I do know. The answer is no. Okay, the answer is yes. I like this idea, Grant. Why not give it a try? We need someone to fill that role in the top 6, whether he plays with Nick and Cole or on the second line. Yep. Yeah, he could play on the second line with Laine and Cap and move Slav back up too. I mean, doesn't have to be with those two, but I'd like to keep that second line together. Wonder if they're holding out Laine until he looks like Slavkovsky during bike workouts. Maybe. Oh, here's a new name. Eric Guevermont. Any relation to Jocelyn? Jocelyn? Another option is to move Demidov to the first line and play Laine with Slav and Cap. There's another option too, yeah. No. I really hope Laine sticks around here. Good person, fits in well, just needs to be healthy. Thank you, Tyler. Yvonne, Ivan Cornway, I like that, Grant. I'll check it out. Good. I appreciate that. Like I say, if you get in touch, send them an email. Just tell them that you saw it on HabsCast, and they'll again, they'll treat they're hockey guys, so they'll treat you fine. Are you going to say Laine shouldn't play because he gets injured too? Yeah, I know. I don't like that. That logic's a little funny. Send down Doc instead of Blay. Yeah. Yeah, don't need any size in the lineup, eh? Call up LJ Mooney. Send Doc to the minors. Every issue solved right there. Grant, do you think Texier is a flash in the pan? I think he asked that again. I don't know. I think he's like he was signed to a reasonable deal. I wouldn't have done it till the off season, but I think they like him. They like his attitude. Laine certainly got the skill, but I'm not sure his speed will ever be at our first line's level. Matthew Tkachuk's speed is not at first line level. Basically the same speed as Laine. Like, you can compensate for not being the fastest player in the league if you bring other qualities, and Laine does. Having perhaps the second best shot in the league, good hands, size, he can protect the puck, pretty smart playmaker. You know, there are other, he's not the slowest player in the league, but you can compensate for that with other qualities, and he does. You know, if you have elite qualities, you can make up for lack of top end speed, and Laine certainly has that. Very well said, Grant. Luke Bailey, all he needs is someone to make room for him and get him the puck. Look at him in Nashville near the end of the year. His goal in Nashville near the end of last season, that's vintage Laine. Yeah, well, I just showed it there. Yep. Pun intended. Did I miss something? Casey Adjukev, pun intended. Did I miss your first? That's a new name. Sorry if I'm not quite getting your getting it. Why do the Habs lose their coverage so often in the D zone? Laine. It's because of Laine. I'm hoping Dovish will have a strong game tonight. Not me. I want a Monty performance from him. A monumental. Okay, I'm slipping into sarcasm here. A little too strong. It's a no-brainer to have Laine in a lineup if healthy. How many zero offense defensive forwards do you need? Yeah, I know. Blay, Valeno, Evans, Deno, all the same. That's another good way of putting it. Anderson to a certain degree. Hope the Habs come out hungry to start the game tonight. Yeah, you and me both. Only thing can do is try Laine and see what he has. No use saying he's no good. He might have found the form he had with the Jets again. Well, actually, even with Columbus and Habs last year, again, average 33 goals per season since he was with the Jets. It's still good. So it is. He was put with defensive players because he was a defensive liability. again, did you hear what I said at the start, Joey? 3.1 goals against last year with two guys that were minus 20 before he ever joined the team. And he was not a defensive liability. He was not. You know, I don't mind people coming in here and stating opinions, but when they ignore the facts completely to try to keep, you know, hitting on their narrative, come on. Bring on Snake. Awesome. Yeah, bring Snake on. I think we're doing one tomorrow. I'm also going to have the guys from Habs Digest on. Young lads there that have a really good YouTube Habs channel going. Hey, I don't consider them competitors. There's room for everybody. I'm going to give them a boost. Get the two guys on. Real nice kids. Josh and Jesse, is it? Anyway, going to have those guys on. Taping a show with them tomorrow night, and we'll give them a plug for their website. Like was mentioned on here, if Laine plays with other players, the teams can't slack off of that. Creates room for Laine to do his thing, which is shoot the puck. There you go. I really liked the Marty's interview about protecting the lead, even if you have a weak goalie. D-man, if you tire opponents and reduce opportunities, you improve your chances. Best defense is a good offense. I think Scotty Bowman said that. Yeah, Joey, but I do notice that people that only come on to be contrarian, like you never, you know, it's only to be contrarian, and then to not listen to the facts that have been stated. It's slightly annoying. I'll admit it. Grant, I know that MSL likes the Dobson Matheson pairing as a number 1D pair. I'm wondering if one of those could be split and play with Gooley, the other with Hudson. Would that work or not? I know that MSL likes the yeah. The other with Hudson. Would that work or not? Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. But I mean that they like the Dobson-Matheson pairing, and for the most part, I think they've been pretty solid. So no more tip now. Yeah. Joe, again, do you completely ignore? Like I went through this. Look at his career minus. Look at the team he was on. -7. The other guy's -35, -30. Here, Johnny Gaudreau, -33. Patty was -12. Boone Jenner, -32. Do you just... it's frustrating when you ignore what's been said. Like, it really is, Joe. Anyway, you just keep posting. You're ignoring what I said and just keep posting the negative on Laine to try to get your point across. Habs Digest and Hockey Jump, you're representing the Newfies, baby. There you go. Yeah, he's from Newfoundland, which is kind of cool. Nice kid. Yeah, his shot is insane for sure. And again, let me guess, a Joey Gauthier didn't look at. He's -75 for his career. Oh, those are all power play goals. Yeah, who wants to score on the power play, eh, Joey? Yeah, you don't need power play goals. I mean, that's how you win in the playoffs, but irrelevant. One thing about Waugh, he sits guys that don't play like he wants. I'm sure MSL may be the way as well when they're finished a product. Yeah. I'm sure MSL may be that way as well when they're a finished product. Think about Waugh, he sits guys that don't play like he wants. Yeah. And Joe, I mean, if this, your comments, the ignoring, for you to say that you're not a contrarian, that's like the Monty Python skit where, I've come in here for an argument. No, you haven't. Yes, I have. No, you haven't. Yes, I have. You should have been in that skit with Monty Python. I'm not being a contrarian. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. I'm just not sure that Laine can hang in there versus top liners, nor am I sure if he's the piece that Suzuki and Caufield need. Yeah, well, no, I'm not sure either. What I am sure is that Texier is not the piece they need. So who's your suggestion? Who should be in that top line if you're not sure that it's Laine? Is there someone that you're sure? That's all, That's why you try him. You give him a shot there. He's going to be inspired. It's his contract year. He's been out all year. It's now or never. It's pay the piper, Patrik Laine. There's certainly nobody else with that shot, with that ability to seize the opportunity and freaking put up goals. There's nobody. So yeah, Laine is still young. I don't give up on anyone in their 20s. No, exactly. Absolutely. And here's another good point. The reason for his worst season in Columbus when his father died, he talked about this in a Finnish interview. Montreal's never seen a 100% healthy Patty with a real center. Well, got to play Laine. He scored before and can score again. Yeah. Yes, Lucky Graziano. I did mention that Stone did not look too happy at the end of that game. I'm sure he tore a strip off the team. They practiced hard. Yeah. The reason for his worst season in Columbus is his father. Okay. Okay. You corrected the spelling later. Yeah. Okay. I got caught up here, folks. Let's trade for Pettersson. No, thank you. Let's get even softer. Pettersson. Oh my God. 8.5 million or whatever, freaking underachieving, not get along with anybody, not back check, soft. Yeah. Where can I sign up? You got to have the salary room, first of all. I can understand why, but a top left-handed center who's okay on draws in his 20s, signed for many years, is almost never available. No. Not Elias Pettersson. There's a reason why. He's a cancer. You don't see his path. Okay. Laine is to stay with the Habs next year. What would be a reasonable contract? He's not making 9.5, is he? I thought it was 8.75 or something. Well, I don't know. I don't think he'll be back with the Habs. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not, unless he You know, somewhere in the 5 million range. If he's willing to do something like that, he comes back and he does well. Be all for it. French media crushing Patty. Yeah. If his name was Patrice, it wouldn't be. Josh and Jesse, watch him every day. Good. I would have hoped for a serious answer to my question. The D zone coverage. Ooh. I would have hoped for a serious answer to my question. Don't dare be flippant with me. All right, Great Britain. Sorry about that, buddy. I'd have to go back through the anyway. Too late now. All right, Grant. No more tip now. Oh. Dovish ranked 31st. Monty 38th NHL. Oof, not very good. I'm not getting any tips anyways there. Tip jar's been drying up lately here. When Germain's not on board, he gets things rolling, it seems like. Laine needs to play for his NHL career. If he did what he did last year coming back from injury, 8 goals in 9 games, finished with 20 goals, he could get a 2-year. Yeah, well, even 15 for Laine. He's getting another NHL contract. He's 27, 28 years old. Yeah, I'm not sure what stats you're looking at either. Monty is 80th in saves above expected. 80th in the league. Shawn Michaels. I didn't know you were Shawn Michael. Laine's the only right answer. He's a 225 goal scorer. Yeah. And in his prime. He has a last chance to show he can play better if healthy. Habs are stuck with that 8.7 contract. I don't know if they're stuck. Again, it's last year. If there were years left, yes. I last season, that's why it's tradable. Man, this week has felt so long already. Habs need a win tonight to make it feel a little better. Hey, Sammy. Usually you're on at the start, not at the finish. Of course, it's after game or during games that you're on so early. Eh? Yeah, I know. We're used to them playing every second night there, right? Yeah, Joe, you're not a contrarian. Every single one of your posts, positive and agreeing. Okay, 100% of your posts the opposite, but no, you're not a contrarian. Laine was a 2nd overall pick, and people comparing his speed like he is Dave Semenko. Yeah, I know. But the season being more than halfway, he only has $4 million left to be paid, and Montreal can keep $2 million. His contract is easy to trade. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not going to trade him by sitting him in the stands. I would definitely slot Laine with the top line for 10 games. I think the coach think the same based on his taking reps with 14 and 13 in practice. Yes. Laine is slower, but Cole and Suzuki are good 200-foot players. Well, that's the thing. You know, you're not playing him with 2 slow players. You're playing with the best center on the team, best player. So sometimes there's been a lack of effort with Laine, but also saw effort from him. I think when he came back last year at the end of the year, there was he was struggling with something. The first 5 games of the year this year, I know he didn't produce a lot, but he was playing with Evans and Anderson, who weren't playing well, and it's just not the right fit for him. It really isn't. But I didn't see a lack of effort really from him. I thought he was back checking and trying. So I also think his skating was a little better. He actually was able to train in the off season. We'll see. We won't know till we see, right? Yeah, well, your power play can be better. It's 23.8 on the power play is fine, but the second power play has 1 goal this year. Second power play unit. That can change with Patrik Laine, and it makes all the difference in the world. Laine is either on the top power play and you bring Demidov down, or he's on the second power play and they actually have someone that can contribute to that. You know, why not have the top power play in the league? It's a difference between being a semi-contender and being a true contender. If you've got the best power play in the league, that's good. Like, it's just like, oh, we don't need more goals. Well, why would you not want a better power play? Why would you not want more goals? They're scoring, their power play is decent, but if it could be better, what's wrong with that? Right? Well, you must have missed Sean. He played with Doc and Newhook, who before Laine joined were like averaging a minus per game. That's who he played with predominantly. The part I'll be more curious about Laine is not his defensive game, but his capacity to control the puck. Yeah, well, yes. They'd pass it to him and he'd be stationary, and then he with that long, he's not short and doesn't have a short stick, and it's hard to keep it away from guys along the boards there when he's stationary. They have to stop passing it to him in that spot. That was as much on their system than it was on Laine. Like, don't pass it to him when he just comes inside the blue line there and he's standing still. Like, he's not shooting at that point. Utilize the other, and they've changed things up too. Last year it was the slingshot, and the guy Suzuki carried it up all the way to the line, passed it to Laine stationary inside the blue line. They're not doing that now. They bring 2 guys back, and they carry it into the zone, past the blue line now, pass it back and forth, and not just the one Suzuki bringing it up to the blue line and then passing it over to. Before that, it was Slav. Suzuki would bring it up and pass it on the right side to a stationary Slav, and he'd lose it. And, well, let's change it up. Now we'll bring it up. Suzuki will bring it all the way up, pass it to a stationary Laine just inside the blue line, who would try to pass it back to Hudson and get it intercepted. Like, if I notice that all the time, you not think that teams that are studying the Canadiens and their tendencies weren't onto it? Yeah, but that's easily, just don't do it. Change it up. So partly on Laine, yes, partly on their game plan. And I think it's a different game plan this year, and I don't think that would be nearly as prevalent as it was last year. We know for sure that Slav is perfect on the top line. Well, no, we don't. Perfect means perfect, and there was a reason why he was moved from that top line, because it was quite imperfect at the time. They weren't playing well, and he's been better on the second line. But I mean, Laine with 2 rookies, not the ideal situation, I don't think, really. I'd rather him with the vets. No wild card without Laine last year, straight up from Hughes' mouth, not mine. No, they don't. And they may not make the playoffs if they don't play him this year, too. Thank you, Grant. You're the only expert giving Patty a fair shake. I'm not objective on finish. Well, what about adding the Jeff Gordon draft if Patrik does not work out? Capo. Oh, Slav. Kako, poor man Slav. Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe. He was a Jeff Gordon draft pick, yeah. I like that. I'm not objective. Well, at least you're admitting. Francois, $2. Hey, merci, Francois. Much appreciated. I answered Laine. You answered my D-zone coverage issues with Laine as an answer. Okay. Okay, good. Mental health is a killer to a career. It's almost like an alcoholic or addict. Easier to repair than a brain that is mashed potatoes. Well, you know, you have to take into account that he was having some struggles with that too. And when you're on a poor team like Columbus, Patrik Laine, when he was on a Winnipeg team that was good, he was solid. He had a very solid because they were a good team. He was +8, right? When he played with the Jets, +7, +8, +8, +1. 4 of his 5 years he was a plus player because they were a decent team. Yeah, he had 1 year where he was a high minus player, and they struggled that year. I mean, it's not rocket science. Patty Laine, in his year, I just want to look it up here. Playoffs. That year that they, yeah, he had 12 points in 17 games as a 19-year-old. The one time that he's had a long playoff, you check it out. Teenagers that get 12 points in a playoff year, it's rare. And Laine stepped up the one time that the club, right, in the playoffs too, he like 26 games, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. That's good playoff numbers for his career. And in the playoffs, the 2 years, he was +2 that year for Winnipeg, +2 the next year, Winnipeg. For his career in the playoffs, he's a plus player. So in the big games, when it comes up, he's not a net minus player. On teams that are decent, that play in the playoffs, he's for his career, he's a plus player. So Laine's on the top line. You put Cole on the right wing. It doesn't matter either way. You can have Caufield right winger for, he's played a lot of right wing. They both switch back and forth. Can have it either way. Habs are projecting to 99, but somehow it feels like situation's more grim than last year. Yeah, well, I predicted they get 100. Geez, if they don't, 99's not 100, eh? I only mentioned Snug because St. Louis said everyone is available. Well, yeah. When they say that, they mean every veteran, really. I'd love to see the Habs get Gudish to play with Arbor. Oh, yeah. They should put Laine on the first line for the rest of the games until the break. I wish they would, Fred K. That's a new name. Thank you. He's trying so hard to be the best version of himself, working with Hudson and Demidov all off season. Yeah, I know. Andrew Chuck, Tim Kerr, Phil Esposito were all great goal scorers whose skating was subpar. Yeah. Yeah. Matt Tkachuk's a 100-point scorer, and he's one of the slowest players in the league. Habs don't try Laine. They will not know if he could surprise everyone. Well, that's it. Gilles. Never want top of anything in regular season. Top 3 placing is fine. I'm saying this as a long-distance runner and cyclist. It's a long journey. There you go. Eh? I do agree that the second power play would be better with Laine. You could also give back the bumper to Bolduc on power play 1. I guess time will tell. Hey, there's an example of a guy who has a different opinion. You bring up some logical explanation. He's okay. Some people can't, aren't capable of agreeing with you no matter what. I'm not naming names. Patrick Cap, Demi Slav on first. What do you think, Grant? Yeah, I like it. Along with Hudson, of course, right? Yeah. Only problem with that is no. Cappy not on the first. It would be Suzuki. I don't know if you're trolling or what, but I have high hopes for Laine. I'm excited to see what he can do. Yeah, me too. His shot from the face-off circle is up there with Ovi. I think second to Ovi, but not by far. Matthews, in the Matthews realm. Laine just stay healthy, physically, mentally, a late bloomer from 27 years on. Seems like if he doesn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. Yeah, I know. Movies to share. Can you give us your scouting report on Oliver Suvanto? Yeah, tune in on Sunday. That's when I talk draft. Heavy kid, good two-way center. Be nice to have on the Habs. Another argument for Laine. While they have good 5-on-5 metrics, they don't have great year in terms of actual goals. It would be nice increasing the production. Yeah. There you go. No, 5-on-5, they don't have a pile of goals. That's a good point. 3-on-3, a lot of their goals have been power play, overtime. They need more 5-on-5 goals. Why not the 35-goal career scorer? That's a good point, Francois. This is HabsCast movies to share. If you don't mind, we're going to talk Habs on here. Okay? I'm not a scout anymore. I'm going to put up a draft list at the end of the year, but my focus now is on the Habs. I don't see enough of these guys to be, well, hey, Sorry. Arbor, Jackeye, and Protz's bottom pairing in the future? Maybe. Maybe. Movies to share later on when it gets close to draft time. I'll have a few more draft shows and stuff, but right now, you know, HabsCast, Habs playing a game tonight. Laine, big topic. So we're focusing on the Habs. Okay, I'll go another 5 here, folks. But I have to go do some shoveling. Shoveling out the driveway. Better half's going to be home shortly here. Got to go out and get a this young lady's, her daughter's birthday today. We got to go get her supper. So. Oh, no, don't worry, movies to share. I'm sorry, I can't really, I'm not watching enough draft prospects right now to offer, you know, I like to have informed opinions, and I have not concentrated on the draft this year, just so busy with the Habs coverage towards the end of the year, and especially ones where I'm dedicating it to the draft more so. Please feel free to come on and ask all your draft questions, and I'll try to inform you the best I can. Do we know the lineup for tonight? I hope Dobish is starting. Yes, same lineup as last game. Dobish starting. The Vegas has 6 players out, including Braden McNabb, William Karlsson, Sissons is out. So they've got some significant players out of the lineup. The Habs only have 2 injured players now. One of them is basically ready to come back in Laine. So this is the healthiest the Canadiens have been all year. And this is the most injury struck, I believe, the Vegas has been all year. They've got, like I say, 6 guys out, which is significant. They've also had a few losing streaks, winless streaks, and hopefully that is the case right now. Brandon Saad and Brett Howden also out. So 6 players injured on Vegas right now. Tough Eastern road swing. Hopefully the Habs can catch them on another off night. Joey, hey, different topic. Have you heard anything about the Habs potentially sending Dobish down during the Olympic break? No, I haven't heard anything about that. I'm not a Habs insider per se. Lots of analysis, scouting, but as far as making phone calls, hey, I'm not what you would call a Habs insider. We have 50 players we can have under contract. All the players in the pipeline won't it force Hughes' hand in package deals for a single player or picks. Could be. I think, the Canadiens will be buyers and sellers from here to the trade deadline. I think they have to get rid of a couple of contracts. They won't be re-signing a couple players, I don't think. There's so many players and they might trade a few signed players in deals and such. Hopefully it's another 7-1 loss for the Knights tonight. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Lineup for the future. Caufield, Susie, Hage, Laugh, Copy, Demi, Jarosky, Newhook, Doc, Bolduc, Jack Guy, Anderson. Yeah. Well, certainly would have enough size, I think. Like Jarosky and Hage are decent size. Jack Guy is good size. I mean, I think Thorpe and I don't know that Anderson. Like if you're talking a couple of years from now, Anderson may be gone. Maybe Thorpe, Papanicus are in the mix at that point for positions. But yeah, there's not a lack of size in that group or grit. All right, folks. Thank you, Paul, for the donation. It's always appreciated. You were quite generous, and we're trying to hit the and Francois, thank you for the toonie. Closing in on 2,000 revenue from YouTube this month. I think about 1,800 now. 4 days to go. It's going to be close, folks, but certainly a big reason why it looks like I'm going to hit 2,000 for the first time is because of your generosity in keeping this going. It's just been, if you'd have told me 3 months ago that I'd have a month where I would generate $2,000 in income from this website already, I wouldn't have dreamed it. So it's just so very much appreciated that you're tuning in first and foremost, hitting that like button, hitting the subscribe button if you don't mind doing it for this episode and everyone as far as the like button goes, but also just the contributions, how little, or it doesn't matter if it's $1, $2, $20 as some people have done. I even had one guy sending me 50, which a couple of guys, which was kind of crazy. Very much appreciated though, and it's just been it's been so encouraging to see the growth since I started this in early September. Put together a package for a potential subscriber today. Hope to hear back sometime tomorrow. If I get a second sponsor on board here, things are looking good. So I'll be, I'll be set up until playoff time financially, which is all I can ask for from this venture. I'm doing this full time, obviously, and so your support has been fantastic, and it's the main reason why I'm able to do this on a full-time basis, and hopefully we just continue to grow from here. I'm going to be in touch with Simo the Snake. Hopefully get him on tomorrow as a guest. Going to talk to Josh and Jesse from Habs Digest. We're going to tape an interview tomorrow, probably put it out Thursday. Want to get Erica back on this week if possible. So I'm going to try to get as many guests as I can, increase the number. Had Stu Cowan on earlier this week. Going to get in touch with some coaches of Habs prospects over the next month or two and get them on as well, and just keep building up, from there. Keep expanding. So thanks again for all of your support, be it just watching the videos, be it, asking me questions and having comments on here, or, the contributions. Okay, what just happened here? Oh my goodness. Really? Le Bleu Blanc et Rouge? $50. Okay. Wow. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. We're definitely heading towards that $2,000 mark now. Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's you deserve it, Grant, and more. Wow. Okay. I'm speechless. Thank you. Thank you so much. Whatever your real name is, I assume it's not Les Blue Blanc. Thank you. Players like Newhook, Bolduc, Valeno, Carrier. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes now. I always feel obliged after a contribution like that. Wow. Players like Newhook, Bolduc, Valeno, Carrier just don't vanish to make room for our prospects. And if we can't use them, what makes people think other teams will give top return? Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like an instant turnover or whatever. You slowly assimilate prospects into the group, unless I mean, special ones like Demidov and Hudson come along. Well, you make room, right? But players and Slav, obviously, his first overall pick, they weren't going to leave him 4 years before finding a spot for him. So slowly but surely they'll, add more young players to the lineup. They're at the point where they can be overripe, as Kent Hughes said the other day, right? They can Reinbacher, they don't have to rush him. Fowler, they're trying to be patient, even though they kind of had no choice a month ago when Monty was hit the skids where they needed him. But they're not going to rush guys now because of needs, because there isn't really major needs, right? Oh, this is tippity doodah. Thank you, tippity doodah. You changed your name. That's a lot better. That's a lot better handle there. Le Bleu Blanc et Rouge. Thank you so much. That's funny. Formerly tippity tip. Reach out to some other Habs YouTubers. I bet you can amplify each other. Well, that's it. I'm not into this just to try to. I know I'm not going to steal the whole audience. I know that younger YouTubers like Josh and Jesse are going to appeal to younger audience. I mean, I get it, right? But there's room for all of us, and I think it'll only help it'll help us both in the long run to promote each other, right? So yeah, I reached out to them, and Josh Newfie, I love Newfies, great kid. Hey, if I can help them out, great. I have no issue with that, and if it in return benefits me in some way, that's fine. But yeah, great kid, Josh, and I look forward to having him on tomorrow. Looks like somebody's home here, folks. I'm gonna wrap this up really quickly here. I really think McDavid is cupless in 3 years. Montreal will have to be his best bet to win. He can either sign with us or sign elsewhere and lose against us. Yeah. Is Zorowski similar to Michkov or somewhere between him and Demidov? Yeah. Ooh. Michkov, I don't know. No, he's a lot, he's a lot taller, different body types, obviously. I wouldn't really compare him to Michkov in much sense. Michkov's not really a stick handler either. Geez. Cross between Demidov and Alexei Yashin. Would that make sense? I don't know if you go back that far, Johnny. I feel like Habs have snagged quite a few special products due to crafty drafting in later rounds. Yeah, it hasn't helped. Yeah. Kev, never been so excited to be a Habs fan. I know. The timing was right on starting this HabsCast too, with the team on the rise that they are right now. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, guys. Josh and Jess are awesome. Been longtime fans. Good. Cheers, Grant. Go Habs. Thank you. Thank you, Les. By the way, let me know what your name is, if you like. And I know it's probably not Les, right? Okay. Well, hey, gotta go. Chores to do. Gotta go out. Got some shoveling to do. Gotta let the dogs out. Gotta eat something. Haven't eaten yet today. Anyway. Never experienced so many fans following and enjoying the rebuilding process. How many other teams have fans following some guy drafted in the 5th round 2 years ago? Not like the Habs fans. You're the best. We're the best. Loved Yashin's one-timer. Absolutely. Hope you can start coming on more often there. Going to be on right after the Habs game tonight. Hope you can join us there. Le Bleu, Blanc, et Rouge. That goes for everybody. See you tonight, I hope, right after the game and right after a Habs win, right? Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. And we'll hopefully see you tonight.